Recording. Yeah, so we did assemble a group now. We're around 10 people. First of all, welcome again, everyone. We will have a webinar for another hour and some 20 minutes more. We will cover a little bit about the introduction, who is Angel, who am I, what are we trying to do, why did we assemble here. We'll talk a little bit around agile leadership, around coaching, and why is Angel coming to Serbia in April. And then we will close at the end. This will be more of a dialogue interview style. Angel and I will be conversing. I will also represent a little bit of the regional and some of my experience that I have on these topics. And you're all very welcome to join in via chat, or since there's very little of us, you can just unmute and ask your question at any time during our discussion. Briefly about how Angel and I met, how this connection between an angel and a bunny happened. So my nickname is Bunny, so this is why one of the things how I mentioned our webinar today is that we are both very passionate around bringing professional coaching and closing the gap of professional coaching and agile leadership and agile coaching in the world, and especially in the countries that are not Western or US countries, when you have plenty of offerings and people, quite frankly, have more opportunities and more support in pursuing development of these skills. So Angel is more focused on maybe Latin America and more focused on the region in that regard. And we met on the Scrum Alliance guide retreat. And this is how we started collaborating. And as you can see, I like conversing with Angel. I like the energy and like the closeness. I think that's something that the region of Balkans and the region of Iberia Peninsula share with each other, or maybe more Mediterranean cultures. We like it a little bit more warm, a little bit more personal, a little bit more direct than others. With that, Angel, I will only say that you have a number of letters or certificates at your name. I'm not even going to mention all of those. You have a lot of experience, so anything that I didn't cover, please introduce yourself to the crowd, and then we will kick it off.
Sure. Thanks, Milos. Well, as Milos didn't say, I'm from Madrid. I live in Madrid, Spain. And yes, I did with the certifications of the Scrum Alliance, like with the Pokemon. No, I wanted all of them, and I got them all. No, I have CST, CEC, CTC, and all that. Right. I started my work dedicated to Agile back in 2007. So quite a bit of time, even though I heard first about Agile back in 2003, 2004, when I was a developer and I had hair. So that was a really long time ago. As Milos said, as I work in many places, I work in more than, I'd say, like close to 40 countries, but never in Serbia. So, and we got to know each other with Milos, and we also decided, why don't you get closer to the Serbian community? And that's why I'm here. So I really, as Milos said, love exploring new culture, new people, new mindsets. This is, I think, is how you grow more. And of course, this is how work becomes even more fun. So that's why I'm really happy to share this time with this community, of course.
Great, and great to have you, and welcome to the community. So let's focus first on leadership a little bit more. So around half an hour on that topic. And again, I invite everyone to use the chat, use some of the pauses that we will create after the questions. So you can ask and join in the discussion Angel and I will have. So let's kick it off right with the first part of our webinar's name. So the leadership, right, in the world of Agile.
Sure. Let me stop you a second there, Milos, because I really want to encourage this these people to put some questions in the chat, right? So when we decided to organize this, we didn't want, like just to show some slides and make it like boring, unidirectional speech. Instead, we wanted to talk to you guys, and particularly me. I'm curious about what is your reality. What are the challenges you're facing? What's going on with Agile there in Serbia? And I would love to have more input from you. It's true that we didn't have much input so far, but still, I have the hope that now we can put your questions, your doubts, your interest in the chat, please. Because as we didn't have anything in our initial post on LinkedIn, we came up with some questions ourselves. But your questions are here much more valuable than ours. So please mind that, and we wait for your questions and comments in the chat. Don't be shy, please. Now, yes, sorry, you can continue, Milos. I wanted to encourage people. Go for it.
Thank you for that demonstration of leadership here and encouragement and empowerment. So we can maybe get to our kind of like warm-up questions, and everybody I hope you get triggered by some of the questions to post your own, and I will look at the chat and draw that in and invite you to come in again. So let's kick it off with, leadership and agile leadership. What's the difference for you, Angel?
Sure. So I've seen that as a leadership is a construct. It doesn't describe an object like a phone or a table, which is like clearly in an objective way to have a common understanding. I've seen that different people have a different understanding of what leadership is. Right? We often see leadership as something like very cool, very nice. We all want to be a leader, but we don't want to be a manager. That's very bad and boring. And sometimes these words are put together. Yeah. So we call leaders managers because they have a certain position. Well, the thing is, I'm not the one to say which one is the right or the wrong definition, but I have a definition that is more helpful for me. So I want to say that it's not that my definition is the right one, but it's what helped me. So to me, leadership is about influence and about purpose. Yeah. So the leadership, to me, the ability of an individual to have influence in a group, in a system. Towards a specific purpose. So this are to me the key words: purpose and influence. And to me this is helpful because it gives me a space to act even though I'm not or even when I don't have a management position. Right. So I have a nice story about that. I was driving in the car with a friend when I was working in ING, and he knew my idea, he knew my purpose of making in this bank Agile happening, because I was the one starting the conversation about Agile in ING Spain back in 2010, 2009. And the guy asked me, my friend asked me, so how do you intend to change a bank if you're no one here, if you're not a leader? And I say, oh, come on, wait. Yes, it's true, I'm no one here. Because I was, the last man in the totem pole. Actually, this right here, the totem pole. That was me. That is true, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a leader. To me, if you are the boss, if you tell the team to jump and the team jumps, that doesn't necessarily make you a leader, because the team, they have to jump because you're the boss. But instead, if you tell your boss to jump and your boss jumps, that makes you a leader, because he doesn't have any reason whatsoever to jump, just because he believes in what you believe. So my job, my boss was already jumping. And I told him, look, our boss is already jumping, and the boss of my boss is going to jump. And the boss of the boss of my boss is going to jump. Yeah. And I will do my best, and I will manage to everyone jumping here. And that's, to me, leadership. Yeah. So what is agile leadership to me? Well, agile to me is the ability of a system to change direction according to the input of the exterior of the system. To be a little bit less philosophical, just the ability of organizations to adapt to market changes. So what is agile leadership? Well, we connect the definition I said before, which is influence So what's the purpose? The purpose is to making the system capable to respond. So an agile leader to me is someone who influences in an organization so the organization becomes more capable to respond to changes in the exterior. Yeah. And that definition to me is easy and helpful, right?
Yeah, thank you. It's we usually, tackle so many broadly this definition. This means you do this, and this. And I love how you condensated that to, agile is adaptation to the exterior of the organization or to the team, depending on what your leadership focus is. And then your job is that you help them, you empower them. You're the one who jumps. And I like some of the definitions that are right. The leaders have followers in sense of they start the charge and then people see them and then they follow them because they want to, versus a manager or more directive approaches to controlling, maybe not to leadership, right? What we would say today is I tell you and then you do it, but I'm not doing it, right? So I like that distinction too. It's kind of like the leader is in the front taking the charge, and the manager is often at the back, or at the chair or something like that. So it's a really different also concept, and easy to visualize. And we already have some. Thank you, Andrea, for already some questions around those. So maybe you can dig a little bit more, Angel, into your experience in ING, how it looked like in this regard, and then we will tackle the agile coaching question a little bit later on. So let's focus on leadership first.
Sure. That's great. Well, something additional to say first about your previous statements, about leadership and leadership styles. So I do believe that, of course, in a coercive way, you also can influence, but for a very, very limited type of purposes. Yeah. So yes, if your purpose is to get people to move rocks from here to there, you can use a coercive leadership with a gun and say, either you move this rock from here to there, or I will fire you. Yeah. But if you need to use the talent of people, if you want to create a sense of belonging to make a system more resilient, if you want people to use their creativity, you need, of course, different styles of leadership that are more connected to getting that talent towards a different level of purpose. So to me, it's very important for us to understand that there is no good or bad leadership. It's good that is leadership that is appropriate for a specific goal or inappropriate for a specific goal. And of course, there are goals or purposes that are fulfilling, contributing, that are good to pursue, and are other purposes that are terrible to pursue. So to me, it's very important that we disconnect the type of leaderships and the purposes and the quality of the goals, or the how appropriate the leadership style is for those specific goals. Yeah,
the style needs to be fit to purpose. Of course, yes,
exactly.
And lovely how you put it. And we shouldn't be dogmatic about that.
Exactly.
Some conversations about the Scrum Masters in my mentoring group around
exactly.
Feature teams are good for some things, but not all of things. Component teams are good for other things. So it's not which one is the best. Same goes for Agile, for Scrum, for any other construct. They all have certain purposes. They all optimize certain things. So it's more of a question: what do you want to optimize?
Exactly.
Certainly, from my experience, also from a bank, and we can connect this with Andrea's question, is that we often see in more traditional settings that the leadership, the definition of the construct is, I want to get results. So it's only moving the rocks. And it's very little about how do I harness the talent, the collective intelligence to really create innovation and other, let's say more complex, higher value forms of contributing to your organization. So
exactly.
How would you then describe your experience with that in ING, maybe?
Yeah. Of course. I didn't answer. that question because I got very excited about the first one. It was very nice. I could I could even go on for hours within that question, and also because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's in my leadership model, like horses for courses. Yeah, which leadership for which kind of purposes. So describing ING. It's like how many weeks do we have to describe? Well, so let me try to keep it short. So when I started talking about Agile back in 2009 at ING, it was kind of a craziness, like it was very little knowledge about Agile. It was very, very little trust about these ideas. So I learned first how to tweak my speech, because at the beginning I was talking a lot about like weird words and Scrum and Kanban. And I have to say at that time I was very excited about the Toyota production system and Lean and all that. So I was talking about Kaizen, Blitz, continuous improvement, the 5S, the wasted. So using a vocabulary that nobody was understanding. So it was like very big mistake. So first thing I learned is speak for the ears that are listening to you, not for your own ears. So it took me several months, I have to say, to first get people to listen to me. Yeah. And even though I was giving so many messages that for me were super inspiring, super important, super relevant, I had no attention at all till I finally got a message that connected to people, particularly for the CTO, which is to improve, remove. Yeah. So before talking about agility or about Scrum or about any framework or anything, the thing that connected for them was to improve, remove. So we're putting too much effort on improving through buying new tools, getting more consultants on board, like adding things instead of reducing complexity, right? So as soon as I understood that people were connected to that message, I reinforced that message. Like for 1 year, I would say that message served me a lot. Yeah, just to improve, remove. So have less in working process. To improve, remove. So find the things that you're actually not delivering and forget about them. Don't do the work. Don't plan the work that you're not going to deliver. So to improve, remove means find waste in your deployment process and make it more simple. So in the moment in which I got people connected to a message, and we could empower that message into actions and getting small results, that reinforces also this message. And I learned later this is what is called cultural change. Yeah. So culture change is not like this. Yeah. We all know that culture is very important and we need to change culture and all that. But it's not simple. It's not that metamorphosis. Yeah. Like you were first a worm and now you're a butterfly. So you're now a bank and you will become I don't know, video game development company. It's not like this how it works. So it works that there is a message that people connect because they choose. You don't choose, they choose. You find a message that people connect with, and you turn that message into results. Yeah, and this is something that I share and that I learn about ING, but this is only one thing. So, because of course, in these 4 years that I've been working first in ING Spain and later as the first chairman of the International Agile Expert Group in ING, where we help ING Turkey, ING UK, ING Netherlands, ING Belgium, ING Italy, ING France, well, many INGs. So I learned so many things that we will need several webinars for that. But for this, I think this message is enough, like the importance of culture, the importance of letting people decide to get engaged and turn that engagement into results. I have to say this to finish the experience about ING, that to me, the biggest win about ING is that even when I left ING, because I left ING back in early 2014, they are still walking in that direction. They are still sharing the same messages I was sharing when I was there, because still I have a close connection with them. I was actually talking to the new ING guys 2 days ago. I was talking to them, and they are still walking in the same direction. They are also organizing a talk with me, because I'm going there to talk about business resilience, because in my opinion, that's the next thing. And to me, that's very valuable. It's not anymore about me, it's about them and the message stick, because people don't follow the leader. People follow the purpose. Yeah, people don't follow Angel because I'm very handsome, which is maybe also true. But
depending who you ask,
people follow the message when they believe in the message. Yeah, so that's to me a very important learning opportunity amongst thousands of them. So I'm very grateful for my experience in ING, because I learned a lot, and it was no easy, I have to say. Right?
And it really resonates with my experience with the insurance tech I was working in, which is a US Serbian company. And I was also very excited about Scrum and Agile, and I used a lot of terminology not really clicking, right, with a lot of people. And then I would waste so much energy in explaining the concept versus just listening and understanding and hearing them what they want, and then come from that place, and then connect all the things that I know. So my style today is much more about, don't even talk about Agile. Let me hear you and see your gains and wins that you want to have, or what your pains are. And then I will connect that internally to whatever Agile has to offer, and then offer that and see what resonates with you and what we can go in. So very similar, I would say, in different industries, but very similar messaging. And I would say that's a very common mistake for a young Agile coach and a young Agile leader, in terms of how much experience you have, that we are so taken away by the message and the purpose that we go overzealously into something like those things, right? And then we do create more resistance, actually, about what we want to achieve. And I think it's lovely how you also connected, like, what this in practice, what this means to be a leader. And you also connected on, I really want to emphasize on that it is our purpose, both as leaders and as coaches, is that we do develop the system and develop the people, so that when we leave, they can do without us. So I'm also incredibly proud when I'm approached by my client and they say, yeah, we remember, and that, and this is how we spin it off. That's even more impressive when you hear that they took it to another level, right? And of course, smaller systems are much more faster in getting to the spin-off phase, versus the bigger systems that usually they have a little bit more time until they can really make it their own, the message, and then evolve it and really adapt. And maybe here we did kind of touch on the subject of that. Yes, we go in or we work as leaders, or we are expected to lead. Maybe we're not leaders yet, but there is that expectation of us. And yet we may feel that we are not very supported by the organization or our managers in that. So what are maybe your experiences or recommendations on that front? So how can Agile, or how can modern leadership or coaching help managers in these situations?
Well, I will answer that question with a story. Well, with a story in ING, because back in 2010, 2011, I was naive. And I had this idea in my mind, which is, when top management understand this message, when they will choose that Agile is the way to go, the top management, in this case, the CEO, Karina, she would go to, like this big tower in the bank, and will do the blessing to all the bank, and will say, from now on, everybody will be Agile. And starting from this moment, the whole company will change. Everyone will be happy. And they will praise me and say, Angel is so good. He finally convinced the big boss to do this. Yeah. Well, actually, this is not how it works. But still, I tried. I'm a very courageous person, so I went to the office of the CEO of the bank, and I asked her audience and said, "Can we have like 15 minutes?" She was very impressed and said, "Well, this guy, why come here?" And actually, I gave the message in a way because I already had strategy. I gave the message in a way that she connect with it. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about the way, but actually it worked. And she said, well, actually, I really like this. And I was like, yeah. And she said, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. But you know what, Angel, I can't go and tell the people to do this. And I was like, no, why? You're the big boss. And she said, look, if I tell the people to do this, two things can happen. First, if it is convenient for them, they will pretend that they are doing it just to make me happy and get their goals fulfilled. Or two, it's not convenient for them, so therefore they will sabotage. Yeah. So pretending or sabotaging is what we're going to get if I tell people to do this. So I'm not going to tell people to do this. And I was like, what? Then what should I do? And she told me, you have a lot of work to do. And I said, but there is 1,000 to 1,500 people here. So what can I do? I said, just do the same as you did with me. Said, but there is 1,500. And she told me, you have a lot of work. I told you, go do it. So I learned that it's completely right. It's completely right. And I see now how many organizations are making that mistake. You know? So it became very agile, became very popular. So top management are saying, go and do agile. People are not convinced. Many people don't understand. And they pretend or they sabotage, right? So what to do instead? Get people to understand the message, get people to choose, get the results, make those results reinforce that choice, and make it progressive. It takes a lot of time, yes, but it's the only way of doing it. If you try to do it faster, it's not going to work. That's what my experience tells me. And second, should we do top down, bottom up? Well, actually, in my experience, do both, because you don't know who is going to choose to buy that message, who is going to choose to follow that path. So people have this understanding or free will. No, they can decide. And it's something that, in my experience, we should consider is that we all have hidden purposes. We all have hidden purposes that we don't declare. We don't say things like, I want more money. I want to work less. I want to be more relevant in this organization. Yeah. People are not going to tell that. But if the goal you declare, if the goal you want them to engage goes against the hidden purposes, it's not going to progress ever. So you should be contributing. Yeah. So that means you need a strategy. You need patience. You need to do it progressively. You need to understand the organization and you need to give results. And that some management or some operational level people are sabotaging or not understanding the movement is part of the change, is part of the game, and is actually positive, is good. Yeah. When people are resisting to change, they are showing you that you should take care of something that you're not considering yet. Because what if you're not right? What if you're missing some information? Actually, if I look back now, I have to say that if they had listened and they have done everything that I was suggesting when I was in ING, most probably the bank would be closed now. Because I had a lot of context missing, and it's part of the game. Thankfully, I had the resistance to change. Thankfully. Yeah. So this is what
a great story, and really resonates with one of the clients that I'm working with today, together with Andrea, actually, on that. So, and we are in the midst of that. So, a C-level executive, and she wants us to include everybody else, and we are trying to map the system and then show them, but also include the offices, look into incentives, look at all the things, and really make this a win-win situation for anyone who actually wants to change, right? That it's not about now you need to become the agile leader, manager, and have that mindset, whatever that means. But how is that a win for you? How is that contributing? Will that create pain for you? Which pain? How can we address that? How can we make that visible? So I think that's insanely important. And as you go to just see kind of the level of resistance also tells you how broadly you have missed the context, but also are you pushing for a faster thing? Are you pushing for a pace that is not sustainable? So I think it's very important part there in how do we develop and how do we help our clients in that we do need to pay attention to the pace of how much they can actually change and what's important to them, what's hindering them, what will be painful in change for them, and how can we truly mitigate that? Andrea, is there something that really resonated, or maybe you have a follow-up question around ING and what Angelo just shared?
So I was listening to the first part, then I had a call, so I needed to tune out, and then I came back when you were concluding. But for me, like what I wrote on the side is this nice note that you mentioned. Let me dig it out. To improve, remove.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting catchphrase that will.
Actually, I have to say something there, Andrea, that I would say like 4 months, I was participating in many meetings, and just the only words that I said at the end of the meeting is just remember to improve, remove. And I was writing that message in the big letters in the whiteboards and flip charts, till it became, a new narrative. Cultures can be shown and can be shaped through narratives. So what are the messages that are usually given within the company? So something that I learned working in so many places and so many companies in so many countries is that each company have like their own vocabulary. That's like those words that are repeated, or those sentences that are repeated over and over, right? So, and that's actually what is shape what is important. So what I did there is include a new narrative to something that I learned is very important. So I would say, Andrea, that yes, to improve, remove is a message that worked for me there in that context. And on top of that, I would say put attention on creating narratives. The big message there is create a narrative. Create a narrative. Sorry that I interrupted you.
No, exactly.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Can I jump in like this? Because I don't
Please.
have my glasses, so I cannot type. And I'm walking. I'm Goga from Croatia. It's not only Serbians here. And I work in a big telecom operator here. So that's why my question, because I think ING as a corporation is similar to ours. So my question is, do you have any, I mean, you probably do have experience with middle management and their resistance? I think their resistance is somehow more powerful than resistance of ordinary people. So can you share? Sure,
absolutely. So, okay, I have to say though that statistically, yes, it's demonstrated that 60% of the change initiatives are stopped in the middle management layer in company. But that's way before Agile, but the question is that really something bad? Right? Or is that a way in which we can turn that into something valuable, right? So when people resist, as I said before, it's because they are seeing something. They are taking care about something that for us is not so relevant, is not so important. Most probably that something is personal, but also it can happen that something is their perspective of the organization. So instead of going against or trying to go against that resistance, I will put my attention on first to understand, yeah, and maybe get them also understand our perspective. Turning the volume up. This is how I call it. Turning the volume up to our perception or our observation in the context. So we are taking care of something. We want agile to happen because we believe it's important, because we believe it's a high cost on not doing it, because we believe it's a high benefit on doing it. Well, the only thing that we can do is just show that cost, show that benefit, and connect this with what they care about. So first, listen to them. What do they care about? What is important for them? And connect. What happened, though, is that often at the middle management layer, it's more difficult to connect. Yeah. So people in the top management, they have a more more broad understanding of the organization, and for them, telling them that it's important to acquire this ability within the organization so that they will be more successful in the market is something that is more natural for them. But if you're a middle manager that you're just in charge of one area, you just see this perspective, and it's more difficult to connect with the reality and understand the reality. Yeah. So I wouldn't say that they are a problem. They just have more information that you can use. Yeah, I would say be patient, create a common understanding of the context. Maybe also reconsider your interpretation of the context. And with that, create a common thing to take care of. And around that, create a purpose. My purpose when I started ING was agile. And the first year, it turned into lean. It turned into something else. It turned into improve, remove. My purpose was to get them doing Scrum. But if I would have been stubborn or fighting against this resistance to change, I would have achieved nothing. So reconsidering your own goals and your own perception of the context to build something in common is extremely important and a necessary starting point to create a movement. I don't know if this helps, Goga.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, I missed
That's
this
it?
part. To understand them. This is what I missed.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Understand them. They are seeing something that you're not seeing yet.
Yes,
I will give you an example with a story. Very quick one. Because that also happens in ING. So I had there in ING one guy that we had like this competition clash, like fight, you know, it was like Superman and Lex Luthor, like Batman and the Joker. Yeah. Of course, for me, I was always the good one and he was the bad one. You know, I was Superman and I was the Batman. He was the Joker. He was Lex Luthor. He was the bad guy. Right. And I was on holidays. I was on vacation, you know, like at the end of my vacation there in the seaside in the north of Spain, and thinking, wow, now I have to go back to Madrid, start working, and I have to see this guy again. Have you ever had that feeling? Like, I really don't want to go back to work because I don't want to see that person. He was the head of the PMO. Like, for me, just the definition of evil. Right. And out of that frustration, I said, okay, do I really know why this guy is there for? Because as for now, I think that he's just useless. His position is useless. His work is useless. Actually, is detrimental for the organization. And I said, well, maybe this is not the best way to approach a conversation with him, you know, thinking that he's useless. And I was asking myself, what if I'm not right? I think that's a great question to ask yourself. What if I'm not right? Do I really know what this guy is doing in the company? Maybe I should ask. So when I went back, and I organized a meeting with him, and I said, look, I want to start from scratch. Please help me understanding what do you do? And he was getting defensive at the beginning, like justifying his work. And I said, no, really. What's your ultimate goal here in this company? I want to understand, because I'm sorry, I do not understand. And he told me, I want to take care of the finances of this company when it regards to building products. And actually, I realized that I was doing the same. And he said, yes, but you are asking me for a check with no numbers on it. And I'm not going to do that. He said, no, actually, no. What I'm asking you for is a fixed amount, it's a fixed time, yeah, and a fixed purpose instead of a fixed list of features. But for sure, we need to, of course, comply with the maximum budget. And he loved the idea. He said, you know what? Actually, we should put a rule that no project can be longer than 3 months in this company, so we can keep budget under control. And he had, Antonio Alonso is his name. He had this wonderful idea, like so agile, only in the moment that I actually listened to him and tried to understand him. Because at that moment, I didn't have that idea. Yeah. Now it's standard. But back in 2011, 2012, that's a very innovative idea. And actually it was implemented like 3 months, like quarterly budgeting. And he was actually the one moving this forward. Yeah. So this is a little bit about resistance to change and the importance of considering what if you're not right.
Yeah, and I have a very similar stories actually. I'm sure you have other stories like this too. And often what comes across as resistance is just me choosing to see things in a certain way. So from that viewpoint, it looks like resistance. It looks like the other person is the bad guy. And I have one of these clashes with again somebody holding the budget, right? But then when you do listen, what you get is like, look, ultimately the budgeting is the problem. What I don't want to do is to put money on something that just sounds like a good idea and our people don't use that. That's a perfectly normal argument to protect the budget right with. Then we talk about, and it was a very easy way to actually talk about how it needs to come from the team. The person actually said, like, it needs to come from the team. And I was like, oh my God, I don't need to actually talk about empowerment to this person. She's already there. It's just that I need to find a viewpoint of myself and a way to communicate with her. Which is maybe at this point, we have maybe some more 20 minutes or so in this dialogue session. So maybe move into coaching a little bit. And this might be a very good opportunity for that is what does coaching bring now in the mix for leadership when we are in these situations?
Well, again, the coaching is something that, in my experience, we didn't define in a way that it becomes helpful because it's being used, the terminology coaching is being used in many ways, so many ways that it turned confusing. So again, I don't want to be right. I want my statement to be useful. And I will explain you how I define coaching. Yeah. So I define coaching as a conversational process, or more or less a conversational process that enables ways to be, to act, and understand reality so that results that are not easy to achieve for an individual or a group can now be achieved. Yeah. So it's as simple as conversational process about being, doing, and interpreting, and it's about new results. Yeah. So what does or how does this helps in the agile context or in the reality of agile? Well, agile actually involves new results that a company is still not achieving. Yeah. So these results, we said, are the ability to respond to market changes in a better way. And better this time means with a more reaction. So that means faster and more closely connected to the input of the market. Yeah. So faster is not about delivering a lot of things. It's about understanding, listening, and responding. Listen, respond. Yeah. So about making that cycle faster. Yeah. So to me, agile coaching is a conversational strategy, with several conversations that needs to be handled so that those results are possible. Yeah. And not only it's about the results, it's about, of course, new processes. Yeah. And also about new ways of understanding your daily work, about new ways of understanding your business, new ways of understanding your organization, and new ways of interpreting reality, interpreting the market, interpreting the work within the company. So this is why coaching is relevant as a ability development instrument. Yeah. So coaching is a proven ability development instrument. And that's why. On top of that, something that I think is particularly relevant in agile coaching, as it also is in agile leadership, is that we are focusing on a purpose, on actual results. And the result is never the implementation of a tool. The tool is just a way to achieve a result. We don't want to coach people so they do Scrum. We want to coach people so they understand better the customer. They respond faster with the product. They communicate in a more fluent way within the organization. So those are the results. And maybe some instruments like Scrum or any other framework or perspective within the Agile umbrella are just ways of doing that might be helpful to the results. Yeah. So this is something that is particularly relevant in coaching. Yeah, the focus on results. And I think this development strategy is very helpful in this context. On top of that, I have to say that there is nothing about psychology or psychotherapy or coaching is not like somebody sits together with you and you take notes and you say, how do you feel? Well, sadly, in my opinion, that's not very helpful coaching. And it can be seen. It can be seen. So we do have proper instruments for that, but we are not doing therapy. We are helping individuals and teams achieve specific results. What's your perspective, Milos?
Yeah, I love that. Angel and I had a lot of conversations on this topic because we also come from different schools of coaching that are slightly different in this regard. So in my school of coaching, which is cognitive behavioral one, we do go a little bit more into emotions and we might write stuff. But what I really want to underline here, and I think in one of the training sessions that I being that Angel held was the difference between asking a question and being in inquiry with the client. These are not the same things, right? A question is just an instrument. So you're not a coach if you're just asking questions and their questions are open or whatever, right? It really what the differentiates it is the end result. And for instance, currently I'm in the process of accreditation for ICF, and I'm talking about, I'm sending my sessions, and a lot of times what I hear the feedback from is, I'm looking at your marker of your coaching, and it sounded like the question wasn't that right, but I've seen the client's reaction, and that's perfect, because what makes an intervention, it might be a question and it might be something else, but a coaching intervention, what makes it powerful is that it made a difference, not how you asked it. And I think you put it here lovely around, it's really around the purpose and the results, not the instruments, not the tools, not the frameworks. And one of the instances how I, for instance, treat Scrum in this is, my goal is not for you to know Scrum. My goal is for you to be able to understand empirical control process and use it to achieve better results. That's the goal. The Scrum is just one way of achieving that you might want to start. Agile is not the purpose. Agile is an instrument, a way of thinking and being and acting to achieve some other result. What is that result? And I think this shift towards the purpose and towards listening and inquiry is one of the biggest things why even the Scrum Alliance recognize that it's not just about telling, it's not about teaching, it's not about tools, it's also about this difference that you make in the and listening to people and being in inquiry and understanding and then partnering with people, contracting with them, and then you are simply supporting them in understanding the system themselves, and moving forward.
Yeah, I'd like to include there more like real life example, so people understand a little bit more about coaching. I really love like making life examples and giving stories and all that. So one example is this. So imagine that you want to get in a better shape. You know, you decide to take more care about your health. You know, and you set the results. So no, let's start even before. So often the person say, I have to go to the gym. Yeah. So one way of doing this is to decide I have to go to the gym. And then you maybe hire a consultant or you hire a coach, and the coach put, you know, like, this is your training program. This is your new diet. Go for it. Yeah. In the best case scenario, you go and try. Yeah. But often people stop doing it. They go the first week and they put a lot of effort, and then they get tired, or they start, you know, like changing the processes. They say, no, I think I will skip cardio today. I will skip abs today. Or really, no beer in my diet. No. Okay, one beer is not going to harm much. One cake is not going to harm much. Yeah. So the consulting project, approach on development, which is about what you have to do, and the focus on what you have to do, is often not leading to the results, because the results are not clear. Yeah, because it's not, I want to get healthier, I want to get better, I want to be in better shape, but how do you know that you're in better shape? What is your goal? Yeah, because maybe my goal that I've been working out my whole life is different from the goal of somebody else that never went to the gym, or different from a professional. So what's your goal, and how do you know that you go there? Yeah. So in the best case scenario, let's say that consultant even helped the person is clearly establishing the goal. Yeah. But still, what makes the person go into the gym is not that the person knows what to do in the gym, is the willingness, is the intention, is the passion, is the commitment to the gym, is a new way of interpreting your relationship with the gym and with your nutrition. Yeah. Is this what it leads you to the results? And actually, if you're really committed to this improvement, you're really committed to this result, experience says that it doesn't matter what kind of nutrition plan or working out plan you have. You're going to find your own. They're going to change within different options, because what actually makes change is not the process. What actually makes change is the new mindset, is how you approach your relationship with this new goal. Yeah. So same happen with companies. Companies don't change because they decide to implement Scrum or they decide to implement your favorite framework, and that's it. People change because they understand the importance of a purpose and they pursue that purpose. Yeah. And then the tool is just a tool. And this is what the coach knows and understands. Coach knows that the focus should be put in changing the way of interpreting the reality and changing the way of being, or the mindset, or how people approach their work. You want it more simple. Yeah. The coach knows that we have to focus on that, and the actions and commitment are just a result of an integrated mindset. Yeah. This is the difference. Yeah. And we have specific tools to do that. We know how to do this. So as we said in coaching, we have tools like listening, we have tools like inquiring, we have tools like articulating, and we have tools like creating and holding commitment that actually get the people to incorporate new mindset and get new results. So we have processes, we have instruments to, in an informed way, do this. Yeah, we are not just asking random questions. We know what is going to happen. Yeah, it can happen though that sometimes we have people that they understand or they think that they do coaching, but they just do questions. That can also happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the distinction that one of the, I believe it was a conversation that I had with Olaf from Germany around it. It needs to have an intention, a strategy. It's not randomly asking questions. It really needs to follow where the client is, and especially this part around the change does not happen just by knowing or getting information. It does happen when you do change the viewpoint. And the mindset. And I can testify on the record, because we are recording, that I am, let's call it a success story for being healthy and losing weight in it's precisely this regard. Like what was really needed for me personally was to change the mindset from, oh, this is so boring and these are the things that I need to do every day, but I'm the person who likes new stuff and exploring. So this is really a chore, and why do I need to do this, right? And when I switched that completely into something different, which was more connected to how much control do I want on my health? So it's something that's very important to me, right? The health and me being in conscious control of my development, of my well-being. When I was able to switch my mindset around that, and then to use the gym, the running, the whatever, right, as an instrument. And then to use those instruments as experiments. Let's try swimming, let's try this, let's try that, with a single purpose. Then is when I started to achieve really sustainable results. So I think this is a very crucial thing to say. We are here in the, let's call it, business of changing mindset, or helping people change mindset, not providing them action points.
Yeah. I like to include something more on top of that regarding to teamwork and regarding to companies. Yeah, because I know that for some people these real life examples are great. For others, are like, well, come on, like really, yeah. So let's take it to the other side. So one example, like in my opinion, very relevant for Agile, is that in Agile we are changing the relationship of the team members with the organization. So that's a huge change, and that's a huge change of mindset. What do you mean by this? So often people, they go to work thinking that their responsibility is to complete the task that their boss assigned for them. Yeah. This is my mindset. This is how I approach my work. I go there from, 9 to 6 or 8 to 6 or whatever time shift you have. And you say, within this time, I have to do whatever my boss tells me to do. Yeah, of course, if we want a team to work as a team and to deliver a product at the end of a sprint, or even better, several times during the sprint, that mindset of I have to do whatever task my boss tells me to do is not going to help. We need a different mindset, which is I'm here to do whatever is in my hand to help my team delivering a product several times per sprint. Better, or if not possible, at least once per sprint. But my responsibility here is to do whatever is in my hand to help my team achieve the sprint goal. So that's a new contract. That's a new relationship with my company. I mean, maybe I didn't even sign that in my contract when I was hired, right? So maybe I'm not ready. I'm not willing to accept that. Yeah. Maybe I hear several leaders complaining about the developers not automatically accepting this kind of assignment or this kind of relationship. But what would you say if they tell you that on top of working, you have to clean your desk and swipe the floor at the end of your work, because it's also your workplace? You know? Maybe you will say, no, this is not my job, right? So it should be an agreement. It should be reconsideration of the relationship, and of course it should be a clear purpose. So the coach, instead of saying, hey, you have to become a cross-functional team, and as part of this team you have to work on delivering the sprint goal, the team will say, yeah, understood. What is my boss? What should I do? Yes, but what should I do? And then you have the daily Scrum with the Scrum Monster participating and the Scrum Monster. What did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? What problems you have? What did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And then you think you're doing a Scrum, but with the mindset of, I will complete the task that it was assigned for my boss. And now my boss is a Scrum Monster. Yeah. So the problem there is not a bad interpretation of Scrum. The problem there is the mindset. So coach first needs people to understand that their job is to do whatever is in their hand to complete the sprint goal. And therefore, they themselves, without any Scrum Master, because the Scrum Master doesn't participate in the Scrum, they will coordinate to ensure that the sprint goal is fulfilled during the sprint. So it's their responsibility to coordinate. Yeah. What changed the result? The understanding of the framework? No. The incorporation of the new mindset. Yeah. So the coach or the Scrum Master, the Scrum Master, this time is Master, not Monster. Monster is the bad one. Master would ensure that this new mindset is created. Yeah. How to install a new mindset? Well, I think that's for a little bit longer discussion, but there is a way to create incorporating mindset. In short words, in my model, in my interpretation, the way to install a mindset in people is by making relevant a part of the context. And people understand and they choose that if they don't take care about this part of the context, which is completing the sprint goal, they are going to have undesirable effects, and they choose to change their mindset, and they choose to understand their reality and they're working in a different way. Only in that moment, we will start getting the results. So this is the way to change the mindset, making the context more relevant, more visible for the people that need to change the mindset. And at the end of the day, we have to consider that they themselves will decide. We cannot force people into change the mindset. Yeah, we can influence, we can try to influence, and that's leadership. Because in my opinion, coaching is also a type of leadership. It's a leadership style, yeah, that is based on this, on getting people choose their own results and choose the way in which they are going to achieve it.
Yeah, well put. And I'll also mention that, right, part of what we were also saying are some of the specific markers for coaching competency, which is partnering and contracting. So really understanding what the previous contract, even unspoken or unwritten on unassigned was, and then consciously talking about it and then consciously changing it. So we are approaching the end of the webinar. So maybe one quick question for you, Angel, before we start talking about what are you going to do in Serbia, which is a first question from Andrea from over an hour ago. Some mistakes you made as a younger Agile coach, and maybe what was instrumental for you to correct or develop, let's use that term maybe, in a more mature coach.
Yeah. Well, I'd say many. So the first one, most important, I would say that I thought the change was about me, was about myself. It was my initiative, it was my goal, and I wanted to force the organization to do it what I wanted to happen, right? So I had a very clear interpretation of the future, and I wanted the change about me. It didn't work. It was a bad idea. This is something that I learned. It's not about you. It's about the skills that you develop in others, about reconsidering your interpretation, still pointing to a direction. Yeah, still pointing to a direction, but also including others' perspective. As I said before, one very important mistake, to speak to my own ears. Speak to my own ears doesn't work. Yeah, people are not going to understand you, even though you will feel very smart. Yeah, and the reality, you're not being very smart. You're being very stupid because nobody's understanding you. It's not helpful, right? On top of that, another thing that I learned is that trying to be right, yeah, is not as important as trying to be helpful. Yeah, I don't know how many meetings I was participating in trying to convince people that I was right. Yeah, and that was not helpful. Yeah, so I learned how to use my energy better. Yeah, in a more efficient and effective way. And I think the other big mistake that I did, and this is maybe interesting and controversial, because when I had my first team, yeah, when finally I got a team to help me, yeah, I mean my first team into an agile transformation, into an agile change. Not my first team as a developer, which is different. Yeah, I also was being Scrum Master or Scrum Monster at that time because I was not very good. So the first time I was working with a team of agile coaches, I thought, well, we are agile coaches, so self-organize, find your own way, and like being too open, go and do, didn't work. You have to, when you have new people, you also have to provide direction. You might need to be more directive for a period until it's clear in which direction to go and progressively build self-organization. So self-organization is not something that you can take for granted. It's something you have to work for progressively in an informal way. Yeah, you don't just go and take it for granted. It's not going to happen. Yeah, you have to work and get it. Get to a stage in which you can afford self-organization. And of course, you need it in a moment because you need to use the talent of those coaches, of course. And it should be progressive. So big mistake, just go and do and self-organize. Bad idea.
And
this is the biggest
what would
one.
you say? I think you mentioned, mistakes. You mentioned your learnings. If you can, say one type of learning that was the most effective for you to actually move into the direction that you just described. What kind of learning was that?
In terms of model or in terms of experience or?
Well, was it, I don't know, an advice, a training, or self-reflection, a mentoring group? What was most effective for you?
Well, there are many of them. So I have to say that at the beginning, when I started doing this work, I was focused so much in the process part. Yeah. And only back in 2011, it was in Kiev when I received my first training in a coaching related environment with Lisa Atkins. So she introduced me to those things that I was kind of missing, And since then, I got trained in systemic leadership, in coactive coaching, in ontological coaching, even though models that later I learned that only some pieces can be helpful, like NLP or particularly conscious business from Fred Kaufman. So I got a little bit from here and there. Transactional analysis. I follow many trainings. Also generative leadership. The best thing I did. Getting a mentor, Natalia, having a mentor. That actually she's not from the environment of Agile at all, but she knows a lot about organizational transformation and changes and all those things. Getting a mentor was really helpful. Joining several trainings and making my own interpretation of those trainings and creating my own model. So I got to know many models, many. I would say like tens of models, and I couldn't make them work together. So finding my own interpretation and getting them to work together and turning them into a model itself that is called the leadership dance floor. It's a model that I use both for coaching and for leadership development. In my opinion, that was like the best, one of the best investment of my life. It was like 7 years of work to make everything they learn working together and make it useful, right? That's really, really helped. And getting a mentor. Yeah, I think that's what's helped me most.
Yeah, I'm slightly different, but in many regards, with I mean, some people on the call know my journey in more detail. But if I need to extract one thing, it's this formal training in coaching that I had, completely unrelated to Agile, and then I had to translate that into the Agile context on my own. But in particular, it was very important for me. It was about contracting and partnership as a concept, but also working in the triads or coaching dojo, however you're familiar with the term, when one is a coach, one is a coachee, and we have one observer that provides feedback. So that was incorporated mentorship, and those exercises were incorporated in this really education program, not really a training, because it was 6 months long. So for me, that was especially that practical part was something that was insanely useful for me. And
Totally agree.
yeah, and we're some 10 minutes until the end, so it's a good thing a good place to reveal what is Angel going to come to Serbia for the first time. I'm very happy to be part of this. So Angel, tell us a little bit more around that.
Yeah, sure. So if you give me permissions to share my screen for 1 second,
Done.
I will be in Belgrade, in Serbia, in April. I will be delivering 2 classes. One about leadership, which is a certified Agile leadership program from the Scrum Alliance. It is 3 courses itself. Is Certified Agile Leadership Essentials, Certified Agile Leadership for Teams, and Certified Agile Leadership for Organization, in which I will be explaining in detail about my model and leadership development. And of course, a lot of practical examples and templates and how to use this in your company. So for me, it's an obsession that all these models, they are practical, usable, just right after the class. So they're like templates and guidance on how to use this in practice from the day after the training. And I will be also delivering a new class, which is the Certified Agile Coaching Fundamentals. This is endorsed, both are endorsed by the International Coaching Federation and also by my own company. And this is about the model on coaching, on a coaching conversation, on a coaching process, and also about incorporating the skills needed to lead coaching conversations. So these 4 skills that I was talking about, which are listening, inquiring, creating commitment, and articulating, we're going to learn how to incorporate those in our coaching conversations, and also a structure for a coaching process. Yeah, so this is going to happen the 11th and the 12th of April, also there in Belgrade. So
live
I
trainings,
wanted to
not to forget that those are live trainings, and a special surprise for our guests. Angel, please share the news.
Of course. So as this is my first time in Belgrade, I like to offer special discounts for the community, the Serbian community, and particularly to you guys that decided to participate in this webinar. So we have a discount, 350 euros discount for the CAL class, and 250 euros discount for the coaching class. And if you get to decide to join to both classes together, you can save up to 900 euros if you register before the 14th of this month. I have to say though, Milos, that I'm terrible with this part.
With the selling, we don't know who's worse. Yeah, but we do need to say one thing though, that we are more regional, right? So it's not just Serbia. So especially we heard from Goga from Croatia, maybe we'll have some people from Bosnia too. So of course, the special prices are for you too. So we are very, very happy to have you. We don't want to spend too much time on the sale part. We're not very good at it. And we don't think, either you liked us or you didn't. You find us adorable and helpful in this conversation, or you're not. So we're not going to dwell too much on this part. You have the information. Should you join us, we do have special prices. We will send you the email with the special codes. If you have any questions, both Angel and I are available. Just drop us an email, connect with us on LinkedIn, and we will explain whatever questions you may have regarding this or anything that we really discuss. So it's not really only about the trainings. God forbid it's only about that. Anything that we discussed today, feel free to jump in and tell us and ask us. And we will.
I have to say something though on top of this, Milos, that I was sharing with you guys that I joined first the class with Lisa Atkins, and then after I joined the full ICF certified coactive coaching program, and I also got my PCC certification by the ICF, and I got, as I said, 2 years. Personal mentor working with me and my materials and all that. So this is just for you guys to tell you how much investment is behind this. Like really joining a real coaching program is extremely expensive. And this is, to be honest, one of the reasons why I decided to create this coaching program, because I want to make it accessible. So I want to make this more accessible to people so you can use this instrument without the need of spending 1 or 2 years of your life and close to 10,000 euros in getting this training. So we want to make it more accessible. It should be more accessible. So same with leadership. So I also joined like very expensive and long-lasting leadership program like this team leadership and systemic leadership for months, and also thousands and thousands of euros. And I wanted to make this accessible because I think I believe it's needed. So this information is needed. And it should be down to earth. And of course, the abstractions that Milos and I had to do to make this knowledge applicable to our environment is something that it will take too long. So it's better if you guys just use the time that we already invested. So you don't need to invest that time yourselves, as I did in ING, right? So it was a painful journey. It took me a lot of years. So we're going to try to make it easier for you guys to access to this information and these abstractions.
Yeah, and I can vouch for that. It was a lot of investment. One of the things that Angel and I talked is that we don't want people to make the same journey. It's not necessary. There is enough experience in the world to actually not go to the agile agnostic coaching training and then translate it and all of that to take maybe 2 years or maybe even more. Really to make it accessible, because really when we talk about the trainings and learnings that we have in the market, especially here and in Latin America, is where Angel is more focused on, they are rather expensive for more people. So coactive coaching or anything around that. So we do want to make it more democratic, but also kind of offer 2-in-1. So coaching and agile in the single training, or leadership agile in a single training, etc. So yeah, please also use the chat and tell us what you find most helpful today. As we say, it's not about the information, it's about what's helpful to you. So I already see, so know your enemy, understand your enemy, not skipping the talk about purpose, love that one. Talking about that people understand your messaging. So, okay, also around the narrative building and listening to the environment. you're changing or coaching. So lovely, lovely takeaways. Thank you for sharing those.
Awesome.
And with that, we are right on time. Guys, connect with us. It was a pleasure having you all and answering your questions. And if you have more, you know where to find us.
Exactly. Thank you very much for the invitation, Milos, and thank you very much for you guys on participating. And I really look forward to participate more in the local community, as you said, not only Serbia, but also all the neighboring countries. So I hope to see you soon there in April. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking the time, and lovely stories, a lot of stories from your end on this call. Really enjoy those. So
cool. Thanks.